Welcome to the series that takes you to the heart of America, revealing the systems that keep our country working as you have never seen them before. The hidden worlds that keep us on the move, our shelves stocked, and our factories running. All that you see here would grind to a halt, even disappear, without the one critical network that makes our modern lives possible. Energy! It's what keeps our lights on and our homes heated. Americans, on average, are the biggest consumers of energy on the planet, and keeping it flowing is a massive undertaking. Over the next hour, we'll see how the vast American energy machine powers us all. I'll make a great loop around the country, discovering where our energy comes from, how we harness it, how we waste it, and how we get it to every home and workplace in the nation. What does it take to tap into the rich energy reserves hidden right beneath our feet?
That's the natural gas.
That's the gas. And capture a power source 300 feet up in the air. I'm not going to look down. No looking down. We'll find out why we have to go to extremes to heat our homes and power our lives.
If this wasn't here, you'd have a lot of cold, angry people.
Cold and angry, and also in the dark.
In the dark.
We'll use cutting-edge technology to get an amazing new look at how the system delivers and how it's being pushed to the limits.
I never saw so much energy loss happening everywhere you look.
We're consumers, literally, from the time we're born to the time we die.
This is a story of where and how we get our energy today and what it tells us about our energy future. This is America Revealed. America Revealed is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. There's nothing else like it in America. 200,000 fans have descended on Central Florida for the great American race. There's an energy capital of America today. This is it. My name is Yul Kwan. I spent my life studying people, technology, and infrastructure, and the larger networks they create. So for me, today isn't just another day at the races. It's a high-octane opportunity to explore the vast network that provides America with energy. Because if there's one spectacle that's all about our insatiable thirst for raw power, it's Daytona 500.
Correct.
With their powerful engines, these cars will burn through nearly 10,000 gallons of gasoline, tearing around the track.
But that's just one small piece of the energy puzzle I see all around me.
You see the loudspeakers and lights? The 7 massive jumbotrons? What about these beers? Keeping them cold, enough refrigerators to chill 200,000 drinks. Plus, there's all this TV equipment, broadcasting the race to 30 million viewers across America. Think about it. All of these devices that make modern life possible have one basic thing in common. You've got to plug them into the wall. Of course, it's not just Daytona. The whole country is hungry for electricity. From the smallest town to the biggest city, we can't live without our millions of refrigerators, air conditioners, and washing machines. But they represent just a small part of the power we use. Each of our homes is also jam-packed with, on average, 26 electronic devices. To keep the power on, we rely on what's been called the largest and most complex machine in the world. And it all started right here on Pearl Street in Lower Manhattan. On September 4th, 1882, visionary inventor Thomas Edison switched on America's first central power plant, delivering electricity to 400 electric bulbs in less than 1 square mile of the city. It's the starting point for the remarkably intricate system of generating stations and transmission lines that light up our world today.
Edison said, "Where this thing is going to stop, Lord only knows." 130 years later, we're still relying on the constantly evolving machine that not only powers this light bulb, but our very way of life.
Once Edison flipped the switch, other power plants quickly came online from coast to coast. The birth of our modern electric power grid. By 1890, 200 American cities, including New Orleans, Detroit, and St. Louis, all had their first electric streetcars. By 1925, Chicago was the most electrified city in the world. Soon, long-distance power lines connected these isolated systems, creating one massive network. Today, more than 200,000 miles of high-tension transmission lines supply power. They are the delivery system at the heart of our grid. Most of the time, the grid is so reliable, we barely even notice it's there. But it's increasingly being pushed to the breaking point, as millions dramatically discovered one summer afternoon in 2003.
August 14th was just a routine day. All the conditions were normal. We had most of our transmission lines in service.
From this control room in Albany, New York, Rick Gonzalez monitors a grid throughout New York State.
Normally, the big board tells the operators at a glance what transmission lines are available, and typically it's not lit up. So we had no indication. On that day, all hell broke loose. The big board lit up like a Christmas tree, indicating that almost all the transmission lines had been lost in New York.
And what are you thinking? What's the first thing in your head?
There was no way this could be real. It must be a mistake. The system went from reliable to total chaos in less than 5 seconds.
The blackout that rolled across New York began as a minor incident 450 miles to the west.
It all started in Ohio. A transmission line sagged into a tree that was growing under it, and because action wasn't taken, about 30 transmission lines ended up tripping or being lost. That resulted in a tremendous surge of power. It overloaded our transmission lines and effectively caused a blackout in New York.
Basically, it was like a domino effect. One line goes down, forcing power onto other lines. They get overloaded, they go down, and it just cascades from there.
The region stricken by this power outage is enormous. Here in New York City, the only thing to do was walk.
It went from information center of the world to no phone service, no computers, no cell phones.
It was really a safety and a security issue. 80% of the people in New York State were left without power immediately following the blackout. 8 states were affected. 40 million in the U.S. altogether.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think that one overgrown tree could bring down the entire system. 40 million Americans without power because someone forgot to trim a tree.
Nearly a decade has passed since that epic blackout. And since then, the grid's basic infrastructure hasn't really changed. To keep it from crashing down again, we rely on a hidden army whose soldiers put their lives on the line every single day.
And today in New Jersey, I'm along for the ride.
Ryan Hill and pilot Vinny Karsha work for the state's largest utility, PSENG.
The part of the wire that we're going through today, if that goes down, what happens? What's the impact?
One line goes down, it puts extra stress on the system to pick up that line. They service up to 400,000 people, customers. Today we're going out to a job where the conductor of the wire got damaged either by a lightning strike or just being old and started corroding.
If the problem is left unchecked, the consequences could be devastating. And no one wants a repeat of the 2003 blackout.
We're we're right in between Philadelphia and New York City. And if something ever happened in between there with our lines, they can have a cascading effect right into the city of New York. That's what we wanted to avoid. Well, that's why we do it live, so we keep that energy flowing.
That's right. These lines are live, still energized. And we're flying right at them in a big hunk of metal filled with jet fuel.
It's pretty intense stuff to be playing with. I'll bond right onto that circuit, and then we become energized.
The electricity is actually going around you.
Yeah, it's going around you, not through you.
This metal wand will put us and the helicopter in direct contact with the transmission line. Once Ryan bonds onto the circuit, the current will flow around us, and he can safely work on the line. But if the chopper touches anything else, like a tree or another power line, we could all be instantly electrocuted. $230,000 volts are surging around the helicopter. There's absolutely no room for error.
Right now we're bonding on. You get a little nips on your skin, electricity going around you.
You can feel it?
Yeah, you can feel it once in a while. You feel some vibration on your hands. You might feel the wire get warm once in a while.
Ryan carefully reinforces a line with these rods, forming a protective metal band-aid.
I'm going to cover up the bad spot of the wire. This way it doesn't keep on unraveling.
What do people say when you tell them what you do?
They think I'm nuts. It's hard to explain exactly what you do when you tell them you walk off the side of a helicopter and think you're crazy. You just want to get in there, do that job, and get the hell out of here as fast as you can.
Mission accomplished.
It's a huge responsibility to maintain the 1,200 miles that we have. It's a very rewarding feeling when you do the job.
Repair workers like Ryan and Vinny are on the front lines every day, maintaining the grid's complex delivery system. That's hard enough, but there's an even bigger challenge: how to keep it constantly supplied with electricity nationwide. These points of light represent a constellation of nearly 6,000 generating plants we count on to power the grid. And each one needs fuel so it can supply power 365 days a year. Today, they use a mix of energy sources, from nuclear to renewables like solar and wind, from hydro to natural gas. But these power plants produce more of our electricity than any other source. And they're still burning the same ancient fuel Edison turned to back in the 19th century.
Coal. This one critical resource supplies nearly half of America's electricity. And this is the biggest coal mining operation in the country. The Black Thunder Mine in Wyoming's Powder River Basin.
Black Thunder is one of 15 mines in the basin, which stretches from northeastern Wyoming into Montana. In the last 40 years, the area has been completely transformed. This is what the barren landscape looked like in the 1950s. And here it is now, the terrain completely altered by mines like Black Thunder. Today, Wyoming produces more coal than any state in the nation, far more than traditional coal mining locations like Kentucky and West Virginia. So what changed?
When you think about protecting the environment, the last thing that comes to mind is digging a giant coal mine in the middle of pristine ranch land. Yet, ironically, all this came about because of a government effort to clean up our air over 40 years ago.
The environmental crusader who led the charge is the last person you might expect.
We can no longer afford to consider air and water common property, free to be abused by anyone.
With pressure from the growing environmental movement, President Richard Nixon signed the Clean Air Act of 1970 into law. It restricted emissions released into the air by big polluters like coal-fired power plants. You might think that would have killed coal mining, but not here in Wyoming. This stuff has a lot less sulfur than the coal mined elsewhere, so it burns cleaner, making the Powder River Basin the new king of coal. Josh Gardner drives one of the trucks that work these pits. It's a 6:30 a.m. shift change. Time to go to work.
Hey, morning, Josh. Hey, what's up? Hey, good to see you.
Our ride is basically a dump truck on steroids. It stands over 2 stories tall and weighs almost 200 tons. But it seems dwarfed by the shovel at the base of the pit.
That's our first bucket in.
Felt like a small earthquake.
This actually is telling us how much weight we have on there. The first bucket was 68 tons, and then the second one, 60.
It looks like it's raining coal.
So we got 174.
3 bucketfuls, and we're on our way. 1 truckload like this can produce enough energy to heat a home for more than 40 years, or run your television for the next 2,000 years. All day long, Josh drives in a big loop, filling his truck with coal, dumping it, filling it up again. In a single shift, he can haul 8,000 tons. And there's plenty to haul. Typically, coal seams might be 10 feet thick, but here, they're 80 feet thick or more.
We're about 200 feet down, and you can see the definite line where the black starts up there and all the gray above it. And once we get done taking all the coal out of this seam, this shovel's done, then they'll take all the dirt that sits above it, they'll blast it back down into this hole, and then they'll just start again.
Again and again until the whole thing is cleared of all the coal.
Correct.
And how long can you do that for? How much coal is there?
They say in the whole Powder River Basin, there's enough coal to last 150 years.
So this place will be around a lot longer than you or me.
Oh, yeah.
But digging it up may be the easiest part of the job. We're hundreds, if not thousands of miles away from the power plants that need it. So how to get this coal where it needs to go? Trains. But not just any trains. Some of them are 1.5 miles long. Carlin Vigil schedules the trains at Black Thunder. She's worked here nearly 30 years, almost as long as the mine has been in business.
We shipped our first train in December of 1977, and we were probably only loading a couple of trains a week at that time, and now you're looking at, anywhere from 20 to 25 trains a day.
This train is headed to a power plant in Montana. This one is on its way to Minnesota, Illinois, or Missouri. This one as far east as Georgia or New York. And they all start out on the joint line. This 103-mile-long set of tracks has developed into the busiest stretch of rail in the entire country. It links these trains to national rail lines, so the coal can get wherever it needs to go. The trains don't even stop as they roll under the chutes at the base of the towers.
The coal runs right up this conveyor belt here, this tube that's down below us. Goes into the silos themselves. We can load a train out of here in about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Generally, a good month is over 10 million tons of coal.
10 million tons of coal sounds like it's a big number, but I mean, what does that mean in terms of how much energy it's actually giving to the United States?
It's actually 10% of the coal-generated fuel for the United States.
In the middle of nowhere, we've built ourselves the Grand Canyon of coal. With our vast reserves, it's no wonder America is still so reliant on this simple black rock to power the grid. Even though coal-fired power plants are among the biggest air polluters in the U.S. But not long ago, a new energy source was discovered that promised to transform how we make electricity.